Hey, dudes and dudettes, Mr. Theorist here, and welcome to Geeky Archives, a new podcast series I'm attempting to try and do. Let's see how regular these videos become. I am here today with the lovely, luscious Draven. Say hello.
Hi, and that's an interesting comment. Don't know what to take from that.
Anyway, I'm a bit snotty, so this is more of a test run than anything else. But this is also an introduction into this podcast series, Geeky Archives. What is it? Well,
what isn't it? Should be.
Well, me and my friend here, just like many of us out there that are part of the geek community, love to just have absolute geek fests.
Yeah, random chats every now and again.
And then go on off tangents on subjects that we're interested in and stuff.
And I'll warn everyone, I can talk for hours about certain subjects, or so I've been told.
So I thought, why not chronicleize it, archive it for YouTube? Because
why not?
I'm egotistical and I think you all enjoy my voice, so why not?
We'll see.
Anyway, guys, so in this first one, we're just going to kind of explain the know-how, the shindig.
Yeah, how it works.
And then, yeah.
Maybe give a quick overview of maybe what we'll talk about, sort of thing.
Maybe I might do a bit of a geek out on one of my favourite TV shows.
Yeah. Why not?
Alright, so the plan for these is to kind of have them as me, you kind of deal, isn't it?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware.
I'm much more into games and TV shows and stuff, aren't I?
Yeah.
And
I mean, don't get me wrong, I know some TV shows. Games is definitely
oh, TV shows most definitely. Like, jeez, I know my fair few.
Give me fantasy. I could challenge you.
True, fantasy is not my favourite subject, but definitely.
Yeah, fantasy.
But then you're going to give us insight into different religious mythologies and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which I'm really interested in, because...
I'll warn you now, it's a big rabbit hole to dive into.
Oh, it's fine. I've already lost myself in a rabbit hole. The reason I've not made videos up to now is because I've lost myself, as you know, into sim theory and the insanity that's become over time.
Insanity, that could be if your sim theory could actually work out as a world religion. Who knows?
Dude, I've already warned you, egotistical. Don't.
Trust me, that's how religions start.
Exactly. Don't.
Well, you never know.
Okay, yeah. So I'll geek out on a game, maybe a TV show, and then the following week we'll have you geek out on a mythology and stuff. Yeah.
Well, it depends.
What's the various mythologies that you do know? So they've got good insight. No. Just rattle off all the different mythologies that you're fairly versed in.
Greek mythology, well, Greco-Roman, because they're both extremely similar.
Yeah.
Norse mythology. I know a fair bit about Celtic mythology as well, which is actually the mythology of our own island. So,
cool.
Always an interesting one.
That one would be really interesting.
It is.
Will that involve... this will show how much I don't know. Would this involve like King Arthur and stuff like that?
King Arthur is a myth, not a legend. He is...
Is he involved in any of the mythology,
No.
like the Celtic mythologies or anything?
No. He's a folk story, but he's not included in the mythology and religion.
See, this is what I'm really interested in, because obviously...
there is a difference between folk tales, like King Arthur, Robin Hood, all of them like that, and then, yes, okay, religion mythology can encompass folk tales, like a lot of them do.
Right.
Like one of the big ones, and I mean this is worldwide, Grimm's.
Right. The Grimm Tales.
No, Grimm's. Guardians of the Graveyard. Black spectral dogs with red eyes.
Okay.
They're all over the world.
Oh.
In different
See,
forms.
this is what obviously we're not going into the depth in this first one, but this is what I'm really interested in, because obviously I've kind of dedicated myself to movies and TV shows quite a lot.
I've dedicated myself to mythology.
Exactly. So I thought this would be interesting back and forth. Like we can have a.
Oh yeah, and the thing is as well, it will actually work because a lot of what you watch and you play is inspired by folk tales,
and we can talk about that and stuff. Yeah. And
I mean, one of the biggest ones, Dark Souls.
See, I don't know Dark Souls. That's going to have to be one that I think. One thing I think might be quite interesting to do is maybe if these develop enough, maybe we should do some like Twitch streams.
Yeah.
Play some games that as you say, Dark Souls is
very, very lore heavy.
See, I could play through. We could play through Dark Souls, and you could kind of like point out where.
Because I mean, one of the characters in it is Sif the Wolf, which is it's not an actual character, but it's inspired by a lot of different cultures.
See, yeah, I think that might be quite
because
cool
the name Sif is a Norse goddess, and in the Norse pantheon there is a great wolf called Fenrir.
See, this is why I want to do this podcast. I think there's some interesting things that could happen during it.
Oh yes.
So, that's kind of an intro into what we've done, to what we're doing.
Yeah. It will expand. I will warn you.
Maybe I'll go over my TV show. Think out a bit about that.
Yeah, why not?
Maybe we'll go off in tangents, but we'll see how we go.
with us two,
so,
more than likely.
I told you that we're going to geek out over a TV show of mine called Fringe today.
Never watched it.
Never seen it. Right. Have you ever seen X-Files?
Long time ago.
Do you understand the premise of it?
Yes.
It's two detectives who go off and investigate science fiction-y kind of things.
Yeah, like the spiritual side of things.
Fringe kind of has the same thing. It's a group of three people, basically a mad scientist.
You've always got to have a mad scientist.
Mad scientist's son, and the detective who pulled the mad scientist out of a mental institution because she needed to save her dead partner.
Stereotypical thing that is.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'll give you the base. I'll give you the basis of like the intro episode.
Oh. Avalanche.
No, we're fine. The introduction to Fringe. So Olivia and her partner, they're seeing each other even though they're not meant to. You know, the whole FBI cliche thing. So they're off on missions together. They're investigating this weird event where this plane magically landed itself at this airport, but there's been like no sign of anyone on board. They said that people have gone on board, they've come off, like the people who've gone to investigate, off and thrown up, and these are like senior veterans.
Oh, so like spiritual happenstance.
Oh no, it's not spiritual at all. Basically what happened is a virus was released and it basically broke people down into their into just goop.
Oh, so basically the goop and atoms.
Yeah, they were just splodges of stuff and just decayed, and so she then has to be like, oh no, what is this? So she does a bit of investigating because she's a hardcore investigator. Stumbles across this scientist called Walter Bishop who's into fringe science, which is
an interesting area.
pushing science to the extreme. And so she gets him from the mental institution, but she gets told she has to find his son. His son's a con artist. So she gets there, and you can automatically feel there's a bit of a vibe going on between Olivia and Peter. They get Walter. Walter's clearly insane, but he knows his stuff.
Insanity hasn't existed without a touch of madness.
Yeah. Well, Walter eventually finds out that I was running tests about this kind of thing about 50 years ago. It's like, how are you? Oh, this is nice. And she's like, okay, so we need to find this compound, we need to find this person. So they go to find the person. The person causes problems and they lose the guy. But Walter Bishop's like, hey, I've got an idea. So your partner, before he got infected himself, he saw the suspect. So what we're going to do is we're going to dose you full of drugs, put you in a tank full of water, have you float there until your consciousness syncs up with your partner's, and then you're going to talk to each other in your mind, and he's going to give you the information.
Okay.
This is just in the first episode. It's
interesting.
Like, and what would like calmly says it is if this is just a normal
just
day,
a happenstance,
normal day in the lab.
Occurrence.
Yeah. So, and there's also a fourth member of this team. Her name's Astrid, and the little cute thing that happens all the way through the show is that Walter never says her name properly. Calls her like Ashtray, Astro, and like apart from key moments in the show when things are getting very dire, and Walter will be like, dude, it's love. No, it's love. It's love, man. This is what the whole point of the show, right? Love is actually a central aspect of this show, but it does it, and it doesn't throw it in your face. It just, it's so good. Right, so first series ticks along. This team has come together. The head of the FBI, his name's Agent Broyles. He has been tasked with investigating events that are like this. Not quite the same, but where
like the cases that don't
fringe
have
science stuff.
Explanation.
Yeah, fringe science stuff. So, like basically,
or where there is an explanation, just the society doesn't want to accept it.
But these are always like the things that they're just beyond the scientific reach.
Yeah.
Like that's the way Fringe puts it. Fringe doesn't try and make magic seem too real. It's more like this is stuff that's just beyond what our science knows.
Magic
kind of
is
stuff.
Science we don't understand.
Exactly. That's why, dude, you need to watch Fringe. Like, even if I told you the whole thing, like, it's worth watching because it's so good. So they get tasked together, and the episodic style of the show is they investigate different events. Walter, all the way through the series, he constantly talks about how him and William Bell, who turns out in this universe is played by, it's going to escape me, Spock.
Leonard
Spock.
Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy, yeah.
Legend.
Played by him. Shows you how old the show is now. And
Leonard Nimoy's not been...
He's been dead a couple of years
now.
now.
Not too many though, so...
And this was done some years before he passed away as well. So Leonard Nimoy is basically a billionaire in this universe. And he's made loads of money off the kind of invention, the kind of pseudoscience that him and Walter have gone through.
Oh yeah.
And it's predicted that somehow the scientific the events that are taking place, we find out they're actually orchestrated by a group called ZFT, who believe the idea that science eventually will lead to our annihilation because science will catch up with our imagination, and we would basically create the end of our world. There's a lot more to it in season 2. We'll get to it in a minute. But the ZFT, that's the foundational. At this point, it's a terrorist group in season 1. And Massive Dynamic, which is the organisation that William Bell owns, has had constant connections with the ZFT group. Like, they keep having the technology, or their people have worked with Massive Dynamic. So eventually in season 1, Olivia is like, look, I want to talk to William Bell because it is to happenstance that you have so many connections to this terrorist organisation I'm investigating. She keeps getting knocked back. We also find out that Olivia was a child who was experimented on along with a bunch of other kids who were called the Cortexophan children, who basically, when Walter was just after some events that took place, he gets obsessed with finding the powers hidden within latent children. He hypothesized that children could have the ability to access greater aspects of their mind, but as we grow up, society stops those.
Common thought.
Yeah. So he and his partner create this drug called Cortexophan, which they give to children to try and heighten those things, and have events take place. And then we find several cases that take place. There's a guy who is an empath, whose emotions are infectious, but they're so extreme to the point where people, when he gets sad, they'll
top themselves.
Yeah, and things like that. There's a girl who her and her sister were experimented on, and they could a pyrokinesis. Ooh. They could control fire molecules.
I like the idea. One that's always fascinated me.
But one of the sisters got set on fire and burst into flames.
That's the thing.
And it's hinted that the ZFT are trying to activate these kids as like super soldiers for their war. They're thinking.
Soldiers, then.
Yeah, but it's. They've taken Walter's ideas and basically tried to turn them into weapons.
Yeah, well, it's true to this world. Anything you try
to
weaponize anything.
There keeps being this hint all the way through that there's a war going on. That's this secret war that's taking place, and basically the season ends where Olivia gets her wish to meet William Bell, but it turns out he's on another universe. She gets taken to the other universe and goes, hey look, I'm staying here, I'm actually a good guy, I'm not helping these groups, but it turns out that something that Walter did caused a rift to happen between the two universes. We find out in season 2 there's a lot more investigation into fringe science, but we also find out that the two universes, that the other universe, not the one we're watching, but the other universe that the war is taking place with, has created these things called shapeshifters. And basically, sorry about that. the shapeshifters can be transported from their universe to ours, and they can they kill and shapeshift into any people, and it's all about them trying to discover and find people, so they can win this war, because they believe there is a war going on. But the universe we're watching has no idea at this point.
Yeah.
Turns out the reason the other universe is at war is because Walter Bishop, Peter, the character Peter Bishop, died when he was a child, and Walter Bishop, during his experimentation, when he got ideas for certain scientific breakthroughs, he created this window so he watched the other universe. And oh, so sorry. So he notices that the other Walter, his son, is also dying. When his son dies, he tries to find solace in the fact that the other Walter will cure, because their science is better than our science. Or the blue universe and red universe is the way. Like, the red universe is the other universe, blue universe is the universe we watch. Yeah. And that's how a lot of the Fringe fans talk about the blue and the red universe. So blue universe Walter watches the other Walter, which he dubs Walternate, trying to cure his son. But this bold guy, which is dubbed an observer, which the blue universe has tracked as watching certain Fringe events, but there's no reason why. They're just around watching these events taking place. And he distracts Walternate, and Walternate doesn't see that the chemical reaction works because it's not 100% pure. It then turns back to not working, and he misses it. So Walter's obsessed, and he's like, oh no, he's not going to cure his Peter. Yeah. He creates a machine to build a doorway to breach across to the other universe to save the other Peter. Yeah. But his friends, who are like, if you do this, you're going to rip through the fabric of universes, and reality. The universes will collapse because of this. And he's like, I don't care. Peter cannot die in another universe. He gets stopped. He falls as he goes through the portal, and smashes the vial of cure he had for Peter. So he goes over there and he's like, okay, fine, I'm going to kidnap Peter, I'm going to bring him back through, I'm going to heal him, and then I'm going to send him back. Unfortunately, his wife is like, no, you're giving me my Peter back. Like, how could you? Yeah. Like, okay, alright, I get it, but as soon as he's cured, I'm going to fight hard, but we're going to. Eventually, Peter's like, Walter's like, no, I can't. I love Peter too much. I can't lose. Yeah. So she keeps, and it turns out this is the reason the other universe is at war, because Walternate climbs to one of the highest positions of power in their universe, Secretary of Defense of America.
Bless you.
Oh. Sorry about that. And basically, he's decided his universe is going to war, but it also turns out that his universe was affected more because of this hole created, and his universe is breaking down quicker. Yeah. So he's determined to destroy the other universe so his universe can survive. Yeah. We then get to season 3, whereby season 3, Peter now knows his dad tried to come and get him from the other universe. He created this. That turned out while the shapeshifters were here, they were getting locations and information so that they could build a bridge so they could grab Peter and bring him over back to the other universe. But that was only part of the plan. Olivia and Walter get a bunch of the Cortex fan children, and they say together, because Olivia has an ability to jump universes, with the other Cortex fan kids, she can power up that power. So they jump between universes, grab Peter, bring him back, but the other universe is prepared for it and knocks out Olivia and puts her doppelganger from the other universe in their place. And she's left there in the other universe to collect these components for the machine, which then becomes the kind of the MacGuffin of season 3. Yeah. I say these words like MacGuffin and tropes, but I love this show. It is amazing and worth a watch because the characters are fantastic in it.
Well, yeah, obviously that's the overview, but then obviously the character development in general.
The characters. It's so good. But so we get to season 3, and for the first 5 episodes, Olivia is trying to get back home, while at the same time being injected with a drug that tries to make her think she's the other Olivia, because that's a nice thing to do.
Yeah. These shows always do stuff like that.
But the reason they're doing that is because they find out that she is the reason they can jump universes, and she's think if we can bring her on our side, we can then convince her to use her ability to jump across because basically what Olivia does is every time Olivia jumps over, the fabric between universes stays stable. But whenever you force it, in a different way, it breaks the barriers down and it keeps degrading. And because Walternut has kept sending shapeshifters over, that's degrading the universes more. So he wants a safe way so he can safely send all his troops across and just annihilate the universe, while at the same time grabbing these parts called the Machine. We find out the Machine is an ancient weapon that basically exists in both universes, and is basically, it's stated that it has the ability to create or destroy.
So
Walternut wants
the god weapon,
basically. And Walternut wants to build it so he can save his universe and destroy the other universe. Eventually, the season builds up to both universes have the Machine. They've managed to find ways to activate it, but something happened when Olivia, that's the other Olivia, comes over to the other universe. Her and Peter have a bit of a fling, and she gets pregnant. It turns out Peter is the only one who can use the Machine, and it vibrates only to his frequency. Turns out we find out why in a second, but because he had a thing with Olivia, they got a child, and the other universes used the child's DNA to activate their Machine.
Yeah.
We find out... No, that's skipping ahead. I'll get that way. So, Peter goes into the Machine, and his consciousness gets shifted 20 years into the future.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And we find out that in the future, they've gone, right, so we activated the Machine, we destroyed the Red Universe, and we thought it was over, because it was either us or them.
Yeah.
But it turned out our universes need to exist in tangent with each other. If one universe collapses, the other one will eventually collapse itself.
Yeah, to be honest, a lot of shows do that. I mean, Star Trek's done that with the Mirror Universe.
So basically, what happens is, I would love to talk about Star Trek, but if we go off on Star Trek, we'll really go off on Star Trek.
Oh, I know a lot about Star Trek.
Exactly. You can probably teach me stuff. I know nothing about Star Trek.
Blame my parents.
So he basically gets told by Walternut of the future, because he forgets who he is, but then he becomes the version of Peter 20 years in the future, and basically Olivia dies because Walternut survived his universe's destruction. He kills Olivia, and basically is like, haha, I'm now going to annihilate your universe as well. Like, I don't care. You killed everyone I knew about. I'm going to annihilate everything you love.
The whole thing of you killed them, I'm killing
Walter
you.
then turns around and goes, oh, guess what? It turns out that originally we built the Machine in the future. And there is wormholes that have appeared since destroying the universe that connect to prehistoric times. And what we did is we broke the Machine down and we sent them back. And Peter's like, well, what are you talking about? No, that's how we did it. That's why we found parts of the Machine in the past. It's because future us sends it into the past to then be found.
So basically it's a loop.
Yeah, but what we're going to do is, because now we know the two universes need each other, I'm going to send your consciousness back in time, and you're going to then, instead of using the Machine to destroy the universe, you're going to create a bridge between the universes so they can heal. And he does that, but because that alters the timeline, because the whole point, the whole thing is that the universes are if they go to war, they'll eventually die. That's kind of the whole, because the timeline gets rewritten and the universes are now saved. Peter doesn't want to rewrite it. He's written out of time. They now kill the character off.
Yeah, no, I've seen that happen a lot of times.
Season 4 happens, and we see the new timeline. The bridge still happens. It seems that any event that Peter was involved with happened differently, or didn't happen at all if his action caused the event to take place. But most of the events, many of the events took place. Like the leader of the ZFT terrorist group, who were trying to bridge across because they wanted to get revenge on William Bell for firing him all those years ago. That's a plot point that comes up a bit later. He was killed at the end of season 1, yes, by Peter. But because Peter didn't exist, he managed to get across instead of the doorway closing on him. And he managed to go across, and this creates the new events that take place. ZFT is more established. The FBI has no idea ZFT exists. And we find out that not only did Walter write the manuscript of the ZFT, their manifesto, there's hints that William Bell has connections to ZFT, more prominent connections now. But William Bell died years ago. He died helping them travel back to the universe back at season 2's ending. But in this new timeline, he died in a car crash. That's what it said.
It just rewrites it a little bit.
Yeah, so he's dead. So it's like, okay, what the hell's happening? So this new timeline, ZFT is more established. they are secretly dosing Olivia with cortexiphan because there's some they want her to power up for some reason.
Yeah.
We find out that the ZFT want to collapse both universes to create a third universe.
There's always that group.
Obviously. Yeah, okay, because you've seen many fictions go, we're going to collapse 2 universes and create a third.
Also, apparently, you've got to have it to survive. Well, I'm going to destroy both and see what happens.
Well, no, they said they've got... Because this is like pseudo-Fringe science, they know they're going to create something better. And you find out that a lot of the Fringe creatures that you've seen across the previous 3 seasons, they are creatures that ZFT help fund. And it's all about, these are creatures that are going to inhabit the new universe.
So basically, they want to eradicate humanity.
Basically, because they are the hindrance, is what it's basically going on.
Wow.
So they go across. This discussion for another podcast altogether. So David Robert Jones is alive. He's thriving in the other universe. It turns out he managed to get to William Bell, and William Bell faked his death. And William Bell and David Robert Jones are actually teamed up, and that's why ZFT is so well established this time.
Right, yeah.
And it's actually William Bell's plan to collapse the universes, because him and Walter thought it years ago, and the reason Walter goes insane, why he was in a mental institution, is because originally, before William Bell accepted the notion, it terrified him and Walter, so he cut pieces of Walter's brain out so that Walter wouldn't remember.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'll put an adult only thing. That's fine.
So. I'll just bleep it.
This podcast is going up raw. So basically, so that explains an event that takes place in an earlier season where they take parts of Walter's brain to find out how to make the bridge between universes.
Oh, so it's somewhat mental capacity is what links it.
No, what it is Walter thought up of the machine that bridges universes.
Oh, so the machine comes from his mind, so they were thinking...
Yeah, so basically what they did is they cut the pieces of his brain out because they didn't want him to go off on be this mad scientist that he was slowly becoming.
Yeah.
Because he realised the limitations of science were not as bound as people suggest.
Science is more open than what people were saying.
It turns out that William Bell then got cancer and then decided to continue Walter's work of, what if we could create another universe? And the whole ZFT zealot idea of, let's do whatever's necessary, let's weaponize whole scientist factions into joining this group, and we're going to destroy this universe and the other universe. And they decide to use the machine. They're going to trigger the machine to collapse both universes, but they prevent that. It's like, okay, so we'll get the cortexiphan kids, and they powerball the cortexiphan kids, and if they vibrate at certain places around the world, it can destabilize the frequency of the and create a frequency that both universes, because obviously different universes vibrate different frequencies.
Slightly differently.
The idea is that the cortexiphan kids are going to vibrate, so the 2 universes vibrate at the same frequency and collapse, because they would be at the same frequency, they can't exhibit the same space, so they would destroy. They prevent that plan. Then it turns out, we had another ace of a hole, because William Bell is a chess player, so he's 3 moves ahead.
Yeah, so, you destroyed that plan, but we've got many more.
Turns out the reason he's been dosing cortexiphan to Olivia is because of Olivia's strength and her ability, more cortexiphan that pumped into her, the more powerful she becomes. She begins to shift objects across room. She can stop bullets and fling them back at people.
So basically, they're turning her into a super weapon.
Basically, but because of how much power she exerts, it's creating this rift, and it's creating universes to be collapsing because of it.
Yes.
Walter then shoots her.
Of course.
In the head.
Typical.
And everyone's like, oh my god! Olivia's dead! Oh my god! But Walter's like, shh, it's okay. Pull the brain out. It's like, it's okay. She's got enough cortexiphan in her. She should be fine. Should? Yeah. Oh, she's fine. We then get season 5. Few recaps before we go to season 5. So, I said about these things called observers. They're things that keep appearing at key events in history. In event. Turns out they're actually gone across all of history, key events like Pompeii and different
throughout history.
They've been recording our events taking place.
Show what's happening and how it's developing.
Basically, in season 2 and 3, one of them called September is interfering because he's the one that distracted Walternut and stopped Walternut seeing the cure. So he has to try and prevent it. And the whole point of Peter getting eradicated from the timeline is because Peter shouldn't exist. Because he had those events take place. Officially, Peter should have just died, so the universe didn't go to war. But because Peter was seen because he distracted, Peter then got a verse and it caused a bunch of events. So the whole making sure Peter gets in the machine and eradicates himself, the observers kind of edged a bit.
Yeah.
To make sure they fix their mistake.
Yeah.
And because of it, Peter should have been gone from existence. But all the way through season 4, Walter and Olivia keep seeing aspects of him.
Yeah.
Then he bleeds through and actually comes back into the this new timeline, believing, oh, I've entered a new timeline. No one remembers him at all, except Olivia starts to, because she's dosed with Cortexfan, and it's somehow her mind's bleeding from the old timeline, all the memories.
She's getting a fusion of both.
No, she's losing her old ones, and it's just becoming the new mind completely.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so, like, oh, yay, but then they get hold of September, because September's, like, going through his own stuff, and he's like, hey, you're going to die soon, and because that's prophesies of the fact that she's going to get shot at the end of the show. And then Peter's like, look, just take me home, right? This is not my universe, this is not my timeline, just take me home. And he's like, no, you are home. And Peter's like, what? And the idea is, because Peter's timeline, because he was erased from the timeline, he technically has no universe.
Yeah.
So now that he's in this universe, because his loved ones loved him enough to help him come through, because their feels for him.
Basically, their memories and thoughts and ideas.
Because they talk about how, like, it's constantly talked about how, like, events can ripple backwards in, like, there's one Fringe event where they talk about how come this girl can see this event taking place, and Walter talks about how I hypothesize that certain events are so traumatic that they literally echo through time, and other people see them, and that's why people can sometimes see events ahead of time, kind of thing. And basically it deals with, like, it very much feels like all the energies that exist, it all can, like, if you can find ways to manipulate it, you can do whatever you need to. So that's how, because of the love and how much connection Peter had to Walter and Olivia, he bled back through. It's kind of fantasy-esque, but who cares? They're happy.
To be honest, a lot of beliefs have that sort of thing, that the bodies might die, but we live on in memories.
Yeah, it is kind of like that.
That sort of thing.
And it is because there is an energy surge that eventually does cause him to physically enter this realm. And basically, so the very last thing we see in season 4, after everyone's happy, Peter and Olivia are talking about getting a house together and having a happy life and everything. September turns back up and goes, they are coming. Season 5 kicks in. We had an episode in season 4, but I wanted to wait to talk about it. Basically, we get shunted 25 years in the future, where the observers have taken over. It turns out that the original 12 that sent back, that we kept seeing all the way through season 1 to 4, they were sent back to find a point in time where the observers can come back, because the observers are a potential eventual outcome of humanity, and they've desolated their timeline, their point in time, so they come back in time to
try and fix
make it nice, to take over our point in time and make it all nice. And I'm guessing because of all the Fringe events, because the show never says that. I'm hoping to get a book that will kind of explain it more, but the show never explicitly states why this point in time is available. Like, obviously, if they're killing a bunch, because they kill loads of people, shouldn't that, like, affect the observers? But I'm assuming because it's a Fringe event, because obviously, like, so many Fringe events and like the universes are malleable, and there's universes that are connected, and they had to disconnect them because there's, like, all this weird malleable stuff. I wonder if that's why they chose that point for whatever reason. But we get shunted 25 years in the future. The original Fringe team have disappeared, and Etta, who turns out to be Etta Bishop, because she is the daughter of Olivia and Peter, has been searching for her parents. The show basically, the reason we're starting up the show now is because she's managed to find Walter, and it turns out that he and the whole team armored themselves because they figured out a plan to stop the observers. Basically, it's a 12-episode arc of they managed to get everyone free, and there's, like, 3 arcs. There's the what I call the Etta arc, which is Etta getting the whole team together, finding out that there's getting them involved in the resistance, and going, like, look, this is the future, this is just how the world is now. Unfortunately, Etta dies.
That's typical.
Hence I dub it the Etta arc. Second arc I call the Peter is an observer arc, where basically, because his daughter's now dead, he's decided to go on a vengeful spree. At first he thinks he's going to help build this box, and by watching the observers' tells because he's really good at reading people. It's kind of one of Peter's things. He's going to be able to build this box which helps open a wormhole to the future where the observers are, because they're using it to send tech through to help solidify their existence here. So he's like, haha, I'm going to build it properly. Turns out he didn't tell properly, and the observer's like, well, actually, all you saw was me reacting to a fly and me being curious by it. And he's like, well, screw you. Slices the guy's neck open and pulls a piece of tech out, which makes the observers be able to do things like travel across time.
Oh, so they're augments.
They're augmented humans, basically. And they work, they don't see time as a linear thing. Like, they can just appear at any point.
Timey-wimey.
Well, because to them, time isn't linear. It's like events have all happened at once.
Yeah,
so
like
they can just
compressed, like reading a book.
Basically, and basically the tech allows them to do that. Also to teleport either short distances or long distances involving time travel as well. Also, they're fast. That makes them faster, so they can catch normal bullets. But in the future, they've developed super bullets that fire faster than the observers can catch. And what else? Oh, and they can also read timelines, which basically means they can play out events
before
if they know enough information to help play out those events.
So basically, they're going back in time to a point where they're almost like gods.
Kind of. They're very oppressive.
They're powerful enough to do what they want, and they use it for their own ends.
Exactly. They call humans natives. Because basically they're native to that place, but it's basically like a colonized. The show is like a colonized. So during the Peter as an observer arc, he puts the tech inside himself and goes on this mission to kill all the generals that are connected to the leader who killed his daughter. But what it's doing is it's turning him into an observer. Like their brains don't work like ours; they don't feel emotion. And so if he continued, he would basically just be this feelingless killing machine. And Olivia's basically, like, I don't want to lose you.
He would become what he's trying to fight.
Exactly. But so Olivia fights with, like, basically like, no, come on, you left me before when we were obsessed with Etta vanishing. Like, don't do this, don't lose me again. And he's like, okay, all right, cool. And that's the end of that arc. And then the final arc is the final stretch, where we find out that the plan was created by September and Walter and fragmented across Walter's brain. And what it is basically is September in the future, people don't have children like normal. Their genetic code is taken and then a child is created from it.
So basically scientific birth.
Yeah. And his genetic prodigy was different and was because he was like an observer. He developed all the same way, except he has feelings as well, and he was empathic. And they were like, oh, don't like that. That goes away from what we believe in. We're going to kill him off. So September then sends him backwards and hides him. And in the original timeline, we do meet this kid for one episode for a Fringe event. And then in season 4, we meet him again. And that's when they figure out he's a child observer. And then in season 5, he's part of the plan because September wants to send him back forward in time from the present that we're watching the show, but back from the observer's time to a part where when the observers made the decision to cut out emotion and focus purely on like good, like logical thoughts. So basically that's what he's planning on putting his kid there and being like, look, this kid can have emotion and be logical, and it makes him
stronger,
like like he's stronger than all of us combined. And he says by doing that, it will prevent the observers from ever developing, and then they would stop the future from happening. It works. It gets set back. September, unfortunately, gets shot in the spine and can't go with the boy, so Walter goes. But because Walter is going to the future to prevent the observers going back, he becomes a paradox, and therefore, from the moment the observers invaded in 2012, which is when the invasion for the observers taking over took place, he has to stop existing from that point. And then the show ends and it's all happy. Like Etta's now alive, being a 4-year-old child again. They're talking about taking her for a bath, and it's all happy times. And the show ends but it's so cool. It talks about multiple universes, and it suggests the idea that.
Well, I mean, the theory of multiple universes is a prominent one because it is possible.
Yeah.
Because, and not just. The thing is, people always talk about like parallel universes, but not just parallel. Multiple universes could be out there.
Oh, I believe, like, if you believe the notion that like every decision we make can create a parallel universe.
Oh yeah.
I think that I don't believe it's like, oh, if I decide to pick this up or put it back down. Like, I don't think that would...
like big events, like life
events that I would
like
say...
going a certain place.
You would say would ripple. They would call ripple effects. They would be... those kind of choices are the kind of choices that would make sense.
Because we've known each other since... too long now.
Far too long.
The decisions that... Obviously, we didn't make the decisions. They were made for us. For you to move away. For me to go to one senior school, Sarah to go to another.
Yeah.
The decision to keep us all together, that would create a new universe. Would that create a new universe where we all
being all
together?
Yeah, and our decisions and our education might have been altered. And that's what I mean. Is that's what I've always
big events like that.
Yeah.
Could change a person because
like going on a drive and turning left or turning right in an area you don't know, so you don't know what
something else.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like with me and Sarah, we've always said, would our relationship have been different if we'd have gone to the same senior school? In another universe, that possibly happened.
Yeah.
Because the divergence.
And as science has said, like. There is the way the universe works and expands and contracts, and there's so much energy out there. We have no idea what's beyond the borders that we've seen up to now.
No, and have we actually seen the border?
And we know that energy
cannot be destroyed.
It forms. There's like only a set amount of ways that it forms in the universe.
Oh yeah, you've got
because that's how we figured out different chemicals are and stuff
and
like
matter
that.
And
so if they form similar patterns. But do they have to act in the same way? Like, is free thought a big enough force to change the natural reactions that we have for ourselves?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why, like, that's when we're going to talk about religions and stuff, and maybe go on to sin theory and things like that.
Yeah. It all ties in.
I want to make sure that our audience also understands that.
Yeah.
It comes from a very spiritual place. Obviously, we both grew up. With the church. You a little bit longer than I did. So it has left an imprint, but the reason I don't believe any of it now is because there are elements that
make sense, and actually, I can see that. But then the problem is, one thing I've always said, and this is the definition between faith and religion.
Yeah.
Faith is the belief that there is something else. There's something there, but we don't know what it is. And faith is personal.
Yeah.
Every person's faith is different. Religion is where a lot of the problems come into it.
Oh God, yeah.
Because one person can say one thing, but one person will say something else because they see things differently. But especially with the way humanity is, that's not right. That you should see it how I see it, and that is why religion is the way it is, because people band together because they share a common belief. But then, for example, the Christian church, that has splintered so much that it's chaotic, because there are so many different denominations that which one is which.
Exactly.
Well, I'll shut up there because I will talk for hours.
No. The thing is, this is kind of the idea. What we want to do is when you feel that you're comfortable enough to start going off on one,
Oh, I could go off for hours.
Obviously, we'll try to limit what happens in the first one because I want people to get a feel of what's going to be happening.
That's what I was thinking as well. I can save the more. Obviously, that's literally just tip of the iceberg stuff.
Yeah. So, next one that we do, that'll probably be Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
And question away, ask away, random facts, and
that's more your thing.
The universe of Kingdom Hearts is crazy.
Oh, trust me, I know. I've studied a lot of things that have got crazy universes.
Yeah. Well, that's our first little tester.
Yeah. See what people think.
And we'll see what people think about it. I wouldn't mind doing these anyway. But...
No. Well, it's finding time as well around my job.
Well, exactly. But if you have enjoyed this video, guys, please leave a like.
And, well, any ideas that they want.
Yeah, if there's any TV show guys. Any TV show guys?
TV shows?
No. I'll try that again. If there's any TV shows that you want us to cover, we might end up covering anyway, because we have a list of the TV shows that we're going to be covering. But if there's any that you definitely want, and if we get a constant demand for a TV show and it's one that we know, then we will. Yeah. Or maybe it's one we have to do some research on, maybe.
Well, I don't mind looking into things.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah,
I'm up for that. I mean, obviously our knowledge of geeky stuff is wide for various things.
Well, the thing is I was very heavily pushed towards geek from a young age, because having two uncles that were like, hey, Doctor Who is awesome, and hey, Transformers is awesome.
One. My mum and dad, I grew up with Star Trek.
See, I unfortunately didn't get it from my mum. My mum was Bucks Fizz.
Oh, well.
And
well, with my mum, her big thing, family history.
Yeah, my mum wasn't.
But the thing is, that's led me to understand a lot of things and see in TV shows how things are connected.
Yeah, because another thing I want to do is if we watch something and it might make you think, hang on, maybe that's connected, that we can think about it, break down and be like,
that's the whole thing, isn't it? Everything's connected. There are no new ideas out there. It's just repurposing ideas that have already been.
Does not make it bad in any way, shape or form.
And it goes back to the whole theory, like you were saying. Energy cannot be destroyed, just repurposed. It's the same principle.
Yeah.
Problem is, obviously, there's plagiarism with people literally duplicating things. But I mean, I myself, I create stories and worlds.
Yeah.
As you've seen. My biggest one that's I've spent 15 plus years on. You know the one.
Oh, the Guardian one?
No, the bigger one. The one that's in the 4 folders.
Oh, yeah.
I've pulled inspiration for that from things I've watched and read as a kid.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Chronicles of Narnia, some Game of Thrones. A lot of
well, the thing is, as long as you're not.
No. I just go, I like the idea of that. Like in because obviously it's one of the main ideas, like from Game of Thrones, is the different continents having different things. My story's got like 7 or 8 continents. In it, each one with their own religion, history.
Maybe make a roleplay game out of it, Mum.
Oh, I probably could. There's enough characters in that, and obviously I've got folklore creatures in some of the areas, like vampires, werewolves, and things like that.
Yep. I think we're going to put it there.
Yeah.
Because, as you say,
we're
coming on to 50 minutes, so we're going to talk their ears off. Maybe.
Nah, we'll see. It depends. Well, see how we go with this one, see what people think.
Yeah.
And then take it from there.
Definitely. Well, we hope you've enjoyed, guys.
Yep, we definitely did.
Please leave a like if you have enjoyed this video.
And any comments.
Any comments you might enjoy. And if you don't mind giving it a share so other people can enjoy us.
Yeah.
That would be greatly appreciated. And until the next, guys, I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.